With only one episode remaining for Loki Season 2, it has become painfully obvious that just like Star Wars, Marvel and the MCU have no real plan in place. Now it's time to talk about how this disgrace can be happening. Kevin Feige, even if he was not the author of all the success for the first 3 phases, surely it rubbed off on him. How can it be that someone this important, this close to success, can possibly be doing so poorly now? There is apparently no plan when it comes to Jonathan Majors and his replacement, as he is embroiled in even more scandal over and over and over. Let's find out what they're going to do with the MCU and what we think is going to happen to all of you as you continue to watch or leave Marvel Entertainment. Hello folks, and welcome to the place where Hollyweird gets unwokeified. We are here to explain entertainment and keep you ahead of the culture curve, help Hollywood get back to the business of making money. Lauren Connor is here to help us do so, and today we are analyzing the most recent Loki episode, but also Marvel at large, because this is simply a microcosm of what is happening all around the Marvel universe, and that is apathy. That's right, folks. Viewership for Loki Season 2 is down, according to Nielsen, down 39% from where it was in Season 1, and that means that it has 61% of the viewership that it should have. Now, there's one caveat to that, of course, and that is that, well, there are far more subscribers on Disney Plus today than there were when Loki came out the first time. So, at a base level, it should have been quite the increase. It is not. We also need to take notice of the fact that the Variety piece has come out. And Lauren, the Variety piece is quite damaging to Marvel. You and I had speculated that OB was the character that they were going to use in case they needed to replace Jonathan Majors as Kang. That does not, according to Variety, seem to be the case at all. They seem to be just flailing about trying to figure out what in the world they could do. Bring back all the original Avengers. Bring them back. They don't have a plan, and that's pretty disappointing. So, Lauren, what do you make of those two things that are sort of happening all around this show at the same time that we're supposed to be reviewing this most recent episode?
Well, they're in the soup, and they know it. It's obvious that from all of the articles that are coming out, all of the chatter, the fact that the media is now kind of taking the gloves off because they smell the blood in the water. It's now okay to come out and rip Disney and Marvel and Star Wars and all those things. I think the article really put everything out there. That it was all the things that we've speculated, which is that the studios got big and bloated on all of their success. They had all of these billions of dollars that they were raking in. They were making use of all of this new technology, and they got fat and lazy. They decided that they didn't have to make movies or shows the traditional way. You don't have to plan. Everything can be fixed in post. And when you don't really think you need writers anymore, and you don't really think that you need planning anymore, and you think you can just fix everything at the tail end because we've got this much money, we can just do it, that's a recipe for everybody getting lazy, leaning on your crutches, and spending way more money than you should be on these productions, and everybody knows it.
Absolutely. Now, the Variety piece, one of the things that it brings up, Lauren, is they say in the Variety piece that Marvel was once known for quality, that just as recently as 2019, only a mere 4 years ago, when you saw the word Marvel, you knew you were going to watch a great movie, and that the polling, and they went into a high level of analysis here. They actually looked at the podcasts and YouTube channels and all the stuff that is Marvel centric, and they took a look at the participatory levels on those things and how much they had decreased over time, and they found that in just 4 years, Marvel may be in an unrecoverable spiral. So, yeah, I think this is a real problem. But let's talk about the episode that we just watched, because you and I have both said consistently that this is the best if we just take this season. So let's ignore season number 1 out of Loki. This is the best show from Marvel on Disney Plus. Now, that's not saying a lot, because when you start going through the list, there's very little that's good, which is rather shocking. I was talking on the pro show yesterday about how, even if Kevin Feige was not the architect of the first phases, right? Even if we were to say that it was really because of a confluence of Jon Favreau and Ike Perlmutter and James Gunn, if we take all of that away from Kevin Feige, you would still think that he was at least competent because he was over all of this. He oversaw it, and yet everything seems to have just completely unraveled. And it's like watching someone. It's like watching an NBA All Star go from being spectacular to they're doing granny shots from the free throw line and airballing it, and that's what this feels like. It's bizarre. That said, this has been the best show, just using season two. This has been the best show, even if the ratings are down. Our reviews are up. So, Lauren, what did you make of this most recent episode? This is we're close to the end now.
I enjoyed getting to see all of the characters from the TVA that we've come to know, see what their branch timelines were like, see where they came from, what their lives were. That was all enjoyable. I enjoyed especially seeing the escape from Alcatraz. As soon as I saw him trying to escape from a prison, it's like, oh, I know where this is. That's always kind of fun. But the problem they're running into is the same problem that they have with a lot of their other shows. They have too many episodes with not enough to do with them, and so I believe they're kicking up a lot of dust.
Which, okay, stop there, though, Lauren, because not to interrupt you, but this show doesn't have many episodes in the season. So the fact that they're running out of content, and the fact that this is such an esoteric show already, that's that really calls into question the writing abilities. If you don't have enough material to make it this many episodes in a show tackling these kinds of issues.
Well, that goes to the second point that I was making, which is why I think they're kicking up the dust, which is that once you start dealing with time travel, and this is a problem in lots of different time travel movies and shows and stories, there's so many different ways to interpret how time travel works. And if you think about it for very long, none of it works. Everything falls apart. And that's sort of the theme of the show.
Lauren, that is going to be, by the way, where the disagreement is going to come from online.
Mm-hmm.
I have already seen people who are giving this a stellar review, and there are people giving it very mediocre reviews. So there's a wide gap in people that I enjoy reading their thoughts. I think it's going to come down to what you just identified, and that is the longer you spend thinking about this episode, the less you're going to like it.
Well, I think there's always ways that you can interpret things to make them make sense. So you're going to have a contingent of people that say, well, no, you're just interpreting it wrong. Here's how you make it make sense. But the problem is that if you're asking the audience to do that, it tells me you don't really have a logical way to make this make a good, strong logical sense. So you kick up a lot of dust and you hope that the audience kind of does the work for you. Really, from my standpoint, that means that the writer is saying, okay, I need to get from point A to point B. I don't have a good way to do that. So I have to arrive at this point. So I will dictate that this is what happens, whether it makes sense or not. And that's why you're kicking up dust. I think that we saw a lot of that in Ahsoka. It's the same writing issue that I see there that I'm now
No,
seeing.
let's not be too vicious now. Easy, Lauren,
No,
with the barbs. Easy.
I'm not trying to be vicious. I'm just saying that I think this is a continuing problem that we see on the Disney Plus shows, is that you have these ideas for these cool things that you want to do, but you're not really spending the time to make it work in a way that is either believable or there's a clear through line that's easy to follow for the audience. I think the audience will say that, oh, yes, this does make sense because X, Y, and Z. But I think you're going to have just as many people that are going to say, no, that doesn't really work because, you'll have other kind of monkey wrenches that get thrown in there because, again, time travel. The best time travel movie that I think ever kind of got around this was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure because, well, we need these keys. Oh, they just dropped out of the air because we time traveled. That's the best way to kind of handle those things. Back to the Future, I think, is probably the one that's pulled it off the best for if you want a good time travel story that doesn't have a whole lot of holes in it. That's a pretty good one.
It is.
I just think that this one it isn't quite carrying it off, and that's too bad. I still like the characters. I think the characters are fun whenever they're on screen doing their thing. They're doing fine. I just think that the story itself is maybe a little trying to be more clever than it actually is.
Right. So that either comes down to one of three things. That could be that they are pressed for time. Haha, get it. They're pressed for time in the writer's room and they don't have time to figure all of this out. Or it could be that they don't have the skill set. Perhaps they don't have the acumen to come up with answers for all of this. Or it could be that the production has been dictated such that they don't simply have the episodes to fill in all of these gaps and provide these answers. Now, I'm hesitant to give them the third one because it feels as if we've done quite a bit of filler. So that doesn't seem likely to me. But I want Lauren now, let me throw some questions at you and you see if you have answers to them because there are some things in this episode that flummoxed me.
Mhm.
And I don't want to be flummoxed. Let's see if you can answer the time flux issues we have here. Okay. Question number one, Lauren. Girl Loki, so Sylvie, she somehow remembers Loki, despite the fact the other characters don't. That said, they all were reset and sent back to their original lives, right? Why is she not in Girl Loki Asgard?
You mean in her original outfit, or you kind of lost me there for a minute?
Her original, I mean, she is Girl Loki. She's female Loki. In
Yep.
her original life, she's an Asgardian. Why is she not there?
Well, okay. So this is where the audience is going to be making the stuff up. So let's see if you would follow me on this. If she is a variant of Loki, say his other half, if you want to put it that way, his mind hasn't been erased. You could say they share a bond, and that whatever powers he has, whatever abilities he has, that he is now some form of humanoid tempad himself. She would also potentially have those abilities. She wanted to be in that time. She chose to be in that time. She wants to live her normal mortal life. So that's what she chose to do.
Despite the fact that she doesn't exhibit any time slipping, such as our Loki.
Well, just because she hasn't exhibited doesn't mean that it's not there.
Okay,
She doesn't
okay.
have a desire to use it. She's been advising Loki against doing this the whole time.
All right. Next question. We don't see Loki time slip out of the temporal explosion that destroys the TVA at the end of the last episode. Yet he opens his eyes and he's all alone in the TVA. Did he time slip there, or what happened?
That, I think, is an open question. You did see him close his eyes at the impending explosion and then just sort of open them again. Um, I think that there's lots of questions. I'm curious as to whether you're going to ask one that I have, and so I think you might be heading that direction.
Okay, so one that you probably know that I'm going to ask is, uh, how in the world did OB, the new OB, how did he know to go to Mobius's house and find Loki there in order to give him the Timpad that he had created? How did he even know where Loki would be?
Well, we talked a little bit about this behind the scenes, and I think you and I have a different interpretation of this. Your issue is that he wouldn't know where Loki was, so he wouldn't know where to go. My supposition is that, well, he built this tempad. He had already talked before building the tempad about being able to locate temporal auras. So my guess is once he built the tempad, that's what he did. He can locate anything in any time or space. So he just looked for Loki and found him and went to the opportune place for him to be, and there he was.
Next question. Why do all of their temporal auras have to be present in the same location for them to go to the place they want to go? Why is one temporal aura not sufficient?
This is writer BS.
Is this the question you anticipated me asking?
No, actually, the one that I kind and a lot of this again is probably because of it's a time problem. Why is everything turning to spaghetti?
Well, it's a cool effect, and so they probably looked at the singularity of the black hole and decided, oh well, spaghettification is such a cool idea. What if that happened with time as well?
Well, sure,
Ooh.
but I mean, the thing that I'm coming up against though is that my understanding, if I remember correctly, this is from season one, so I might be wrong, was that Kang set up the TVA. to prune all of these branch timelines. And the reason that he did that was because he didn't want to be constantly battling other versions of himself, right?
That's correct. Yes.
So if that's correct,
And that's simple. We can understand that one.
the temporal loom was created to weave all of these threads together to create one consistent regular reality, right?
Yes. The sacred
Okay,
timeline.
right. So the problem in the previous episodes has been because all of these branch timelines were being created, the loom's becoming overwhelmed. It's going to explode and destroy all of the timelines potentially, right?
So far, yes.
Okay, so far I think we're all on the same track. If the temporal loom exploded, which looked like it happened last episode, then you would assume that all of reality is essentially unraveling, and that's why everything's becoming spaghetti. It's like the threads are actually being torn apart. That makes sense. But when
Yes.
Loki opened his eyes again, the loom, he's back
Was still
apparently
there.
prior to
Okay.
it
Okay,
exploding.
Lauren, I've got an answer for you on that one.
Okay.
Okay. When I saw that, I wondered if that was not a CGI mistake. I
Well,
saw it with you. I thought, well, because that's generated, of course, with computer graphics, right? The loom that's outside the TVA. And I wondered if they had made a mistake. I wonder if they had made a production mistake and forgotten, oh, shoot, that's not supposed to exist out there right now.
Well, I don't think so, because I think what actually happened is that Loki essentially did time slip back. We didn't see him slip, but the loom is not as overwhelmed. There are not as many branch timelines going into it.
But, Lorne, if he time slipped back, then why did everybody disappear? Where would he go where they're at the edge of time exploding, right? That's why you've got that glow and everything, and you've got the warning, and you've got Miss Minutes on there with the slogan on the computer that says safe mode engaged. Where would he
So
have landed that could have possibly been that?
I'm gonna go with more writer BS. Okay.
Okay, yes, well, that's where we're landing a lot now.
Here's how I think it works. Loki subconsciously chose to time slip before he realized that he could do it. So in his
Without
moment
us
of
seeing
panic,
this, of course, yes.
yes, so in his moment of panic, he time slipped, and that created the new branch reality that was different from the original one, and that's why nobody is there.
Lauren, can I share some very bad news with you?
Sure.
You and I do this where we come together and we try to provide answers for a writer's room that needed us to be in there to solve these problems before they put this out into the public. Um, I love our answers. I think we come up with great stuff. I'm just no longer confident that the writers actually thought of very much of this, and I'm way less confident that they'll answer any of this in any of the episodes because all the stuff we come up with just gets thrown away eventually.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, in the comments, you'll always have somebody that does have an answer and will say, "No, you're misunderstanding it. This is what's happening," and for them, that's the answer. I think that we obsess over these things. This is what nerds and geeks do. That's why we do it, is because we love it and we want it to be internally consistent. Some people don't care about that kind of stuff. They're just there to see actors act and to be entertained, and that's
And
fine
that's
too.
going to be where this score is going to be so different for so many people. Because if you enjoy the psychological drama that this was with Loki reaching out to his friends and he wants friends and he's making that realization, if that was the thing that pinged to you and you don't care about the logical side of all of this time stuff, then you had a really good time. And if you were
Now,
like us and you're very, you have that engineering mindset, then you're going to struggle.
well, okay, I want to jump in here with two other things real quick. One is Key again, because I think that he's carrying a lot of weight on this show. Every time he shows up, it's fun. When he does develop the tempad, his prototype tempad that he's got, and he shows up in Owen Wilson's front yard, and Loki says, "How did you get that done so fast?" And he says, "I don't know if I'd call it fast. It was 18 or 19 months and I lost my job and my wife."
It was perfect, and that was a perfect delivery.
That's funny. That is really
Yes,
funny.
yes,
And the other thing is, some of this is built into comic books. Comic books are always built on retcons, and that's why you have multiverses and alternate stories and clones and everything else that happens in comic books. It's that they're not static. You have different writers, different artists who interpret things differently, and they make mistakes, and then you got to go back and paper it over somehow. Sometimes you just realize maybe we made a mistake going this direction. How do we fix it? And so that's sort of built into comics. If it's done poorly, then you're never really going to praise it. But if it's done well, sometimes it opens up new story possibilities. I don't think that's necessarily what's happening here, but I can forgive a little bit of it just because these are comic books. You sort of expect it.
One of the things that this series needs to do, other than find an audience, which it may not, one of the things that it needs to do is it needs to give us some sort of interest in this Kang the Conqueror saga. And it also needs to give us the option to bail on the same exact saga in the last episode. That's so funny. It has to get us excited at the same time. It has to give us an off ramp in case they need it.
So, how many episodes are there in this season? Is this also an 8 episode season, or
I think, Lauren, we're at the end. I think there's one more episode.
oh, is that it? Just one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's see. Let's see how many there are. I'm going to double check myself. Yes, there's one more episode, and then we're done.
ooh,
So
that's
better be
that's
a
a heavy
2 hour
lift.
saga, eh? 2 hours to go.
I didn't realize we were that close to the end. I sort of thought
Heavy
we had.
lifting on the way. Yes, if this was the middle, I'd feel better about what they can accomplish here.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to see how they wrap all this up in another episode, and
Any
that means we're meandering if they don't.
any chance it might be a special double length episode? Would they
Oh,
do
it
something like
it
that?
needs to be. It needs to be because they've got a lot of questions to be answered. They've got a lot of character development to be done. They have, like we said, they've got to both reinvigorate our interest in this villain, as well as give us the option of swapping out the villain if so needed. I think you're exactly right, though. I definitely hope that we get OB in the future in Marvel. I mean, this character has been so good. And honestly, Owen Wilson is doing great work again. I hope his character continues in the MCU because,
Yeah, and
frankly, they don't have much else anymore.
one of the things about this episode that I liked about that, so, centering in on Owen's performance, is they gave us a dad who's doing the best that he can, caring for his sons. He's a little overwhelmed. He's having some difficulty with it, but you can tell that everything that he's doing, pitching these jet skis, and he's trying to make a life for his boys and to make sure that they're taken care of and doing well. That's something I haven't seen out of Disney for a while, and so I was
Hmm.
happy. I was happy to see
I
that.
liked it
That was
too.
good.
Um, Lauren, we're approaching the end here, of course. Having watched now essentially 2 seasons, we've got one episode left. I kind of think that one of the flaws of this has been that it's called Loki. And I think in the beginning it was about Loki. Now, as we're at the end of the second season, I kind of think this is more about the TVA. I think Loki's just sort of a character who's floating along inside of it. He's our lead protagonist, but it's not really about Loki in terms of Loki. He's never got to act like Loki. He's never got to use his magic or his trickster powers. And so, in some ways, this feels a little bit contrived. Like we could have thrown any character into this situation. And now, honestly, Tom Hiddleston was probably the best actor you could throw at it, but that's the actor, that's not the character. But this feels very much like it's been about the TVA. And I hope that at the end of it, we come away with Loki, and that we get to play with Loki again, or we say goodbye to Loki. But I think I'm happy now with the TVA version of Loki. We've seen him enough now, and I'm ready to go back to the powerful trickster guy. What do you think?
Well, okay, so here's my pitch. Um, Chris Hemsworth was recently talking about how if he comes back to do another Thor, he definitely wants something different. I think that Love and Thunder kind of soured him a little bit on Taika Waititi. We know that Taika
How
is
could it
out.
not? Good
We know
Lord, it
that
was bad.
we know he's out for whatever they do next if they do another Thor movie. What I would like to see is a more grounded Thor. It's time to get away from the comedic angle on it. I'd like to see something. Some people didn't like the first Thor movie. I actually really did. I like Kenneth Branagh's take on it. He went a little more operatic. I'd probably go more grounded, something that is maybe in the vein of a Conan or something like that, where you're still a comic book character, but let's see something that's got some weight and some gravitas. And if you're going to do that, I think you do need mischievous Loki back. And so the way that I would probably handle that is maybe at the climax of this thing, it's similar to what I think they're going to do with Secret Wars, which is you're taking various threads of these various branch timelines, you're using the loom to weave them together into a new pattern. And in that, you get Sylvie folded back into Loki. If she's the mischievous part of him that's been taken out, you put her back into him, and now you have the Loki that is more of a trickster, potentially in charge of the TVA, and now able to mess with his brother again.
If that means we don't have to fool with Sylvie anymore, I am totally on board with that. I have no desire for that character to continue. I'm sure the actress who plays Sylvie is a lovely person. It doesn't work, so that's just where it needs to stay. I don't see her as Loki in any way whatsoever. Lauren, I've got to ask you this question, though. Of course, the rumors are swirling that Marvel is desperate. They're reaching out to the original Avengers, specifically RDJ, Robert Downey Jr., to come back and save them. If you were RDJ at this point, would you come back, or would you say, nope, I ended well?
Only if he's got some degree of control over the script. He's got to be able
Yeah.
he's got to be able to read it. He's got to be able to see, does this make sense, or is this going to tarnish what I've already built? If he's got some degree of control over that, then maybe you come back, but you make him pay for it.
But you don't come back as Mark Hamill going in blind with a contract that locks you into playing Jake Skywalker. You don't give them that chance to do that to your Iron Man that you went out so well with, right?
No. It's like, look, you never want to say goodbye to these characters, and obviously, from Star Wars, I would be a diehard Luke Skywalker guy. I wanted to see more of him. I'm sorry that we did in the way that we did. You
Well,
never
we didn't
want to
see
be.
Luke. Luke didn't return except in The Mandalorian.
That's true, but you never want to be the aging rock star that no longer has it, that goes out on stage, can't remember the lyrics, doesn't have the vocal range they used to have, tries to dance, stumbles and breaks their hip. You don't want to be that guy. So, RDJ, if you're looking at this, if you're considering this, make sure that you've got a good script. If you don't, it's not worth it. You already have enough money. You can never salvage your reputation once it's gone.
And at the same time, Lauren, to do the counter on that, there's almost nothing as satisfying as when someone that you have watched from a very long time ago comes back out, does whatever it is that they're great at, and does it at the level that you walk away and go, they still got it. And everybody in that audience walks away going, yes, they still got it.
Now, I should say, I misspoke there. When you lose your reputation, you never get it back. That's not true, because he already did that once. But it's very rare that you do have a second. You have a second chance at redeeming yourself in an audience's eyes, and then have to do it a third time. Now, that's not to say that his reputation is bad now, but you don't want to end up souring the memories that you've already given people that will stay with them for the rest of their lives, as long as you don't screw it up.
Marvel's at that point where their reputation is on the line. They have screwed up significantly. We've got Variety and others saying that based on their statistics, this could be actually a death spiral for the MCU. We don't know that yet. Can they possibly regain their footing? Can they possibly bring back the original Avengers and put things into their place? Can they possibly get rid of the ideology that destroyed them, which, coincidentally, is the same ideology that destroyed Star Wars before Marvel attempted it as well? We are rooting for our heroes to be redeemed, even if the leadership at Marvel and Disney stinks. Maybe they have to go first, but we want to hang on to those heroes, those mythos, the things that inspire so many, and we'll hope that they can be inspirational once more. Lauren, tell us about your adventures on YouTube. What do you got coming out on your channel in the future?
I've been reading through the Vision or Spectre of the Past. Forgot the title for a minute. Spectre of the Past, the Hand of Thrawn duology. I've already read the original Thrawn trilogy. I'm now jumping into this one at listeners' request. After that will be Vision of the Future. And from there, don't know. Just going to see where it goes.
Folks, don't let this channel be the only place that you can find the intensely satisfying commentary of Lorne Connor. Go to his channel, follow along, be subscribed, support Lorne, and we'll continue to have him on the channel no matter what. Even if Star Wars and Marvel fail, we'll find something. Who knows? Maybe we'll be on here talking Power Rangers one day. God, I hope not. Anyway. It'd be better than some of this. Anyway, folks, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know, what are we going to cover if all of this fails? Me and Lauren, do you want us to cover Ernest Goes to Camp? I don't know what we'll do, but we'll do something.
I got ideas. We can talk.
All right, we've got it, folks. We're breaking out the Tinker Toys, and we're going to build something. All right, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Well, you see, I wanted to get some inside scoops on Disney and their, different corporations, if you know what I mean. So I figured, by looking into this fistbowl and sucking it randomly with my own energy that I pay for, you paid for, I could do the whole experience where you can be a master and spy on your targets.
You're an idiot. If you want to get the inside scoop on Disney, or even other media organizations, you should check out thatparkplace.com and subscribe to WDW Pro's YouTube channel. That'd be way easier, more accurate, and, less dumb.
Are you saying I won't get accurate information this way?
No, you can't.
Who'd have think?